operate. So it's begun to affect job landscapes, gradual impacts on roles in communication, coding, and other sectors. Technologies like universal translators are enhancing cross-cultural communication, and AI's potential in medical research and other fields continues to be explored. If you think that AI can now take an image, think about a doctor using AI or a human using AI to diagnose using, by taking a photograph of, some affected area. Okay, so some of this may sound like science fiction, but I can assure you that it is a reality and it's available to us already. In my previous webinar, I covered the free versions of ChatGPT, Bing and Bard. Bard is now known as Gemini, it's Google's product. So today we take it a step further by looking at ChatGPT Plus. So I personally subscribed to it. It comes at a cost for me of $20 per month. It's about 400 Rand. I presume that we have similar features in Microsoft on their premium license, but this was not available to me. And as far as I know, it's not generally available in NT yet. It's a bit of a costly license. So that is why I opted to start exploring further capabilities of this AI using my own subscription to ChatGPT Plus. So if you open the ChatGPT Plus, this is the landing screen. So I will soon open it real time on my system. But here on this landing screen, you can see the areas I quickly just want to show you. First, it is how to customize your prompt so that you get more focused output. There's the ability to attach one or more files. You can select the model, and there's a plethora of GPTs available. And you can even make your own GPT. But that's a whole webinar on its own. There's a whole wizard that guides you into it. It's really not difficult at all. So let us go to ChatGPT. Now I'm on my own system. And I will toggle between my slides and the system. So, okay, it opened here. I can see it opened ChatGPT 3.5. So I'm selecting 4. It looks like it looks not that like the screen I normally get, but yeah, okay, it just takes a bit of time. Maybe the internet is a bit slow. Okay, now, okay. So firstly, this is advice I can give to you, even if you're on the 3.5, the standard version. This is what you do, what is available on the free version. But even on the free version, if you click on your name, there's that option, Customize ChatGPT. If you click there, you can give it custom instructions that goes with every prompt. So it's automatically then included into every prompt. So there's thought starters. So you guide it to give you in its search process to work in a specific type of setting. Where are you based? What do you do for work? What are your hobbies? What subjects can you talk about for hours? What are some goals you have? So I set it up now for a more, for the workspace. So I said I'm based in South Africa. And I put, not that I'm doing all of that, but that's more or less what I'm thinking what it should cover, the roles it should cover for me. Also a data analyst, that's actually what I'm doing. And I'm saying I'm in National Treasury's Government Technical Advisory Center. Then you also have the opportunity here. How formal or casual should ChatGPT be? How long or short? How do you want to be addressed? Should ChatGPT have opinions on topics or remain neutral? So I said I need a professional tone. Response must be detailed, accurate, complete, and objective. But you can use your own words there. And it also depends on what you're doing. If you're in a more informal chat, you can change this because it will, if you make changes, it will be available in the chats after you've made the change. Okay, so for me, that is how I customized it. I showed you where you can select your model. So that DALL-E is the graphics that comes with it. It's the type of more image type of language models. Okay, and then an important one is here. If you go explore GPTs, you can see here there are. It is such types of apps, I can say, just to make it easy, that's been developed by fellow users and to put it in the public domain. It's classified here, so most of it is free. I once tried one, and then after a bit of time, it asked for a subscription. But many of those in here are free. And so, if you need writing help, there are many of it that you basically, let's say you go to Academic Assistant Pro, you start the chat, it goes into a system that looks like ChatGPT. It's still actually ChatGPT. And now, now you can ask it something like, you can attach your file, or you can give it, could you rewrite a paragraph to be more concise? Can you help outline my paper? So it gives you example prompts, and it's focused towards this type of functionality. So it goes to the right large language model, because you guided it that this is more for writing. Okay, so I was able to create some GPTs myself. If I go back here, my GPTs. So there they are. I said that it's only for me. I'm not sharing yet, but it's dead easy to do that. Okay, so let's go back. So this is basically the features of ChatGPT Plus. That some of it or most of it is not available in the standard version. Okay, so the presentation today will focus on data analysis, one of the many capabilities of artificial intelligence, as you know. So this capability is really changing the way we interact with our data. It is now possible to use language to analyze your data instead of necessarily doing the necessary or doing coding or formulas or so. You can now, if you know how to, you can prompt GPT or ChatGPT to do a graph for you instead of making it yourself, or to create a table or a pivot table instead of doing it yourself. So this has significantly changed the way how we work, how we train people. I think we need to think, are we still training people to go back to the very basics, or do we bring them and show them this capability? It also changes roles in the office to a certain extent. You can now ask, can I not expect more data analysis from a person with without formal training? A certain level can maybe be expected. So we will run through some examples, and it will be some basic data analytics, just to give you an idea. And I really invite you to explore more of it and to share your practice as well. Ubuntu, you will interrupt me if necessary, if there's questions or anything. Okay, so the first example is to extract data. So I'm actually on my actual slides here. I'm not in presentation mode. So I right-click, copy link, and now I go to ChatGPT, and I can just, that is one I already set up to when I prepared for this. I set up this whole chat. And remember, the previous, well, you were not all present when I presented, but you must remember that each chat is focused on a specific topic. So you can't just continue in the same chat with new things. It's not, you can, but it's not ideal. So when I start a new task, I start with a new chat because it remembers information and it tries to use information that I previously provided to it. Okay, so now say I have a project where I'm now working on public entities. It's actually true, we are working on public entities. And I actually got a list. I got a hold of a list of public entities. Oh, let me just. Okay, so this is my document. And we're now going to draw a sample from this list. We may want address details. We may want to set up a list of public entities in an Excel file and create a type of a database. So this is the PFMA scheduled public entities. I think some of you may be even familiar with this list. So it is just a list of names of public entities. It's a 11-page PDF file. So this is the file that I sent to ChatGPT. I actually attached it from my system and I said, please help me read the document. What can you tell me about the document contents? So it actually came with a summary to say, this is this PDF file, here's an overview, and it describes the different public entities. There's an addendum which it also describes. So now say I'm interested in this Part B in Schedule 3, Part B, National Government Business Enterprises. So I'm telling it. So the more you must engage with it in a human type of voice. It mustn't be too like bullet type instructions. It apparently, and that is what other people say, you get better. The prompt is very important, and you get better responses when you're friendly and open and willing to learn and so on. So I'm saying I'm interested in the Schedule 3, whatever. Are you able to extract the complete list and write it to an Excel file? So now it did exactly that. I've extracted the complete list of national government business into an Excel file. You can download the file using the link below. And you can click there and it will download the file. It will appear in your downloads folder. So let me somewhere quickly find it on my system. So this is the how this file looks. So you can see there's the list of 20 national government business enterprises that it came up with. Okay, so now I want to just get a table of how many of each type of entity per schedule. So I say, this is great. Could you make a summary table of the number of names per schedule in the document? If so, please export to Excel file. So it ran this Python code and it came up with a summary. So there are Schedule 1, 9, Schedule 2, 21, and then all the others as well. So it could count from that list all the entities. Okay, I continued. Great stuff. Now for a big task. Yes? Is somebody wanting to come in?
Please mute your mics unless it's a question. I think you can continue, Hermi.
Okay, so now I said, now for a big task, could you please make a list of all 271 names together with the schedule and export to a file? So it came up with a code in Python. I've compiled a list of all the names and exported it to a file. Please note that for the sake of demonstration, the list includes placeholders and a selection of names across schedules due to the extensive number of entries. You can download the file on the link below. So it gave me an incomplete list. So I continued and tried to make it right to other file types and all of that, but it didn't. In this session, I couldn't get it to write all the entities into one long list. But I suppose this is how you learn. And maybe there's a magic prompt that I haven't done, or maybe I could lead it schedule by schedule, and then in the end, ask it to combine it and then export it to the Excel. So the only way to become a master of this is to play with it a lot and to use it a lot and to not give up when it gives you an initial answer that is not totally what you expected. And it is quite important also to, very important. Remember, you're the master, you take responsibility for the content, so you always have to review what you're getting. I'm now moving to another example. So in this example, it's dummy personnel data. It's actually a master file with names and some details of the personnel. And then there's another file with only the ID and whether the person got a salary increase, the size of the increase. And, I wanted to merge that salary increases to the master data so that there's another column showing me the increase that every person will get in this round. So let me just show you the data set. There's the data set. You can see it's some ID number, a name, the salary notch, age, gender, and a department. There are 121 rows in this data set, including the column heading. So it's 120 observations, and it's 6 columns or 6 different fields in the data. The second data set, so this is the master data, and the second one is those who's getting salary increases. So unfortunately, it's only 7 people, number 15, 20, 48, 61, etc. And they get this amount of increase. So I want to, as I explained, I want this increase column to be added to the other spreadsheet as another column there, showing next, for instance, next to person 15, their increase and 0 with the other people. Okay, so let me close these 2 files. Those would be the input files. And if you run it, let us go to ChatGPT where okay, now I must just go to my chat. So this is the second example. So you can see I just sequentially uploaded the master data set and the salary increase data set. I said 2 data sets are attached. The one data set contains personnel records for province X. The second data set is a list of personnel who received salary increases. Please merge the salary increases to the personal data set. Use the ID number as a key to merge on. So it quickly came up with this to say what is in that data set. It analyzed it, it merged it. It asked me afterwards, and it comes with intelligence because it says for those personnel not listed in the salary increase data set, their increase value has been set to 0, indicate no salary increase. So, without me even asking for it, it understood the context of that it's a limited number of people actually getting an increase. Would you like to save this merged data set to a file, or is there anything else you need assistance with? So I said, yes, please save the file. And there's the Python code to do it. And it came up with this one. So it won't go back to that original file. It comes with a new file with all the columns, including the new column. So your own data will never be accessed, on your system if you don't attach it. It will always just give you the file that you asked for. Okay, so there's the updated data set, and with the column added, the zeros added. There's person 15 with a 3% increase, person 20, etc. So without me even knowing how to do this, I could do it in a couple of seconds. If it wasn't 2 seconds, 3 seconds, it's a small data set. And I mean, this is a simple data set, but it can do big merges. It's not really restricted in what I could see. You'll see in today's talk, bigger data sets, much bigger than this, that it easily handled. So this is just to show you the principle. If I had to do this in Excel myself, it would have required me, maybe with a VLOOKUP, I would have looked for that ID number in the other table, and I would have had to know the VLOOKUP function. Okay, so now that is my data set. Okay, then. Okay, so after this, after this, what I did, because I returned to this chat a few days later, and it then struggled to work on this data set. So I decided to rather upload this data set myself in a new chat again. So that is why I could have continued there, but I actually did it in 2 sessions. So okay, I don't actually want it to go there. Let me just close. So in this one, you see, I have a gazillions of records of chats there. And this is an easy way. When you work on a chat, remember to document its link that you get there. That's its link. This is where you can go back to it. It's not if you work in it a lot, it's a good tip to be able to go back. So I uploaded the one that this one with a merged data set. I can close it here. It has no relevance because it's reading it from here. So now I start again. Please assist me to understand the attached data set. Could you provide a basic description? So it reads it, and the data set, whatever, consists of 120 entries structured into 7 columns, and it gives a description column. That is quite useful. Say you had 100 columns and you could get a description like this on each column. Sometimes you think we struggle because you think a column is numerical, but in the meantime, it's a text column. You will be able to see here, age is of type integer 64. That's numerical. Float is numerical. Object is a text data type. So yeah, it describes that data set quite nicely. So now I want to do binning or grouping. So I say, Could you please categorize the age into 5-year intervals, add a new variable called age group to the data set, and export the data to Excel? So the data set has been updated to include the new variable age group, categorizing the ages into 5-year intervals. So let me just show you. You go and look at your data. So here is the age group. The notation is interval notation, which is quite nice. But you will see now I have empty cells in there. So there's an empty, and it's age 65. 65. Every time, all age 65 looks like it didn't have a category for that age. So I'm not happy with that. So I continued with this. Please redo, but add another category to include 65 plus ages in the data. So first it started, sometimes it comes with an error, but it actually tries to get itself out of that error. It does some internal problem solving. The data set has now been updated to include the category for ages 65 and above, and now you can download it. Let me somewhere go there. The updated one. The version 2. Now has the 65 plus category. So all age groups are now filled in. And now you can make a nice graph, or you can do further analysis with it. Okay, so that is exactly what I did. So I said, please make a graph to compare gender and age group. So quite a vague instruction. So I basically want to see if all the females are young and all the males are old, or what is happening in this data. And it came with this graph. So there's, on the horizontal axis is the age group. It has a legend to show me the meaning of the colors. It has a nice heading and a count. The only thing that I don't like in this graph is these empty categories. Is not neat. We're wasting space there. It's not visually attractive. Now I say, working on the graph, please exclude age categories with 0 counts and add data labels. Change the color scheme to monochrome just to see what it can do. Okay, now you will see, now it came up with, this is not right. So I'm not happy with that. I tried another time. Please exclude age groups below 20 years. Again, it didn't come up with the right, but it actually added some form of a data label, even though the data is not correct. And now I'm getting, go back to the first graph, please. Start the horizontal axis at the age group 20 to 24. Can you do that for me, please? So you see, my frustration levels rose there. Still, it's not doing that, but it's better than those other two ones that were wrong. It's better than the first one because it now has the data labels. Yeah, we back to that, okay? So it's giving me that. So now I'm getting nice again. The graph is nice. Please let the y-axis cross at the 15 to 19 age group. So just another way of prompting. And here it did it based on that instruction. So this is what I said prompting, you have to play around with it. It does not necessarily always understand what you mean. Now some interpretation. What do we know about the balance of male and female in the data? Please write a short paragraph. Export a graph and gender paragraph to a PowerPoint slide. First, it had an error, but it self-corrected, and it came with a PowerPoint slide, which I considered, but the mistake I made was to ask for a paragraph. I should have asked for bullet points. So I actually reprompted it. I say, what do we know about the balance? Please write a few short bullet points. Export a graph with a y-axis crossing at that number of years and bullet points to PowerPoint. So let's see, I think this was the better one. So it came with this PowerPoint. So it looked like this. So let me just shift, so it's some reformatting. But there's the key points: female representation, this, male, that. Distribution shows a relatively balanced gender. The balance is crucial for analyzing salary increases across different demographics. Understanding gender dynamics can help in formulating equitable workplace policies. Quite relevant. I would think, for what we've given it to work with. Okay, let me close this this one. Okay, so we did the presentation and the graph prompting and all of that, and the binning on this data set. Okay, so we now turn to a larger data set. This is actual data, BAS data set. It's all data. So I was comfortable to use it. It does not have any personal details of anybody. And let me show you the data set. It's always better to work with this .csv format if your data is large. So let's just explore the data first. So if I type there, I can see this data has 29,059 observations in the data. Can you see my cursor where I point here?
Yes.
Okay, so that is the number of observations. So it's a much bigger data set. So about almost 30,000. My number of variables in this data set is 99. So it is a big data set. It has, the BAS information, objective, assets, first some codes, department, responsibilities. You can scroll, there's fund, assets. Some of the columns look very empty, but you can't tell unless you've filtered and looked at each column separately. What the quality of the information in that specific column is. So I'm going to close this data set and let us go to the chat. Where we analyze this data. So here I uploaded the data and I first asked it, please count the number of rows and columns in the data set. And it tells me this is the number of rows and columns. So I'm sure that it doesn't, it kind of reads all the data. That's why I asked that question. Next question, for each column, identify the data type and whether there are any missing values. Create a table showing the variable names, the data types, the number of unique values, and percentage missing values in the data set. So this is quite easy for Python to do. And it came up with a table, which I then exported to an Excel file, which I can show you quickly. This is what we do when we first explore a data set that you're not familiar with. It's specifically also for, if it's big data, it makes it much easier. So there's my list with 100 rows because it's 99 fields plus the header. The type of data, so my first few columns were codes, object. This is the number of unique values and the percentage missing values. Now, immediately we see that even from level 8 downwards to 15, this is not analyzable. I can actually delete those columns from my data and save a bit of space and complexity in my data. By looking at this now, it says to me there are 7 financial years in this data. There are numerical columns, the budget, original current, and the total expenditure, the number of unique values, and fortunately, this has limited missing values, and so on. Just check here, responsibility level 4 looked like a sensible one to analyze in terms of detail as a first, so you'll see it later in this analysis. But there are other things, you can, you can look, you can judge the quality of your data here. For instance, National Provincial said it had 2 unique values. This is where the province is listed. So it's a Gauteng province data set, but it has 2 provinces. So we need to go and clean this data and see what other province appeared, or is it what happened there. And it's a single department. So this already gives a lot of information. So this analysis is very critical when you explore a big data set. So now I'm asking it to remove all columns with more than 5% missing values and write the remaining columns to a file, which it did. Download, filter, dataset. And then you can also make it to do calculation. So I'm asking it to determine the total original budget, current budget, and total expenditure per financial year for each responsibility level 4. So first it struggled a bit. It had a problem with the column names, which had spaces, unnecessary trailing and leading spaces, but it solved all of that and it came up with a calculation, and which I then exported the table, the summary table with the totals to an Excel file, which you can then go and analyze further. So instead of doing a pivot or even touching that data, I could instruct it to do this. So there's the responsibility level 4 with the totals. I calculated this pivot table and saw that, okay, this looks nice. It gives me all the years, but it looks like something is up with these two names. It looks like this very same branch was called something else from 2017 onwards, because even in the value, you can see it looks like that. So let us collapse. Let's use one name for the two and see if ChatGPT could do that. So you can now go further and you can instruct it to, in responsibility level 4, please combine those two and call it another name, then recalculate the summary table and export to an Excel file, which it did. Okay, so this is summarizing your data, getting totals, cleaning your data to a certain extent. What I also want to just alert you to, if you look at this chat, so every calculation has some Python code. So I took all the basic instructions to count, to come up with a number of this analysis of the variable names, the basic exploration of the data set. So I took all of that code and I copied it into Python. Now you mustn't get a fright, but I just copied it in here. And what is wonderful about this, actually, I think in the future we're going to teach people Python. And not Python like at the basic level. The only thing I had to do was to change the name of the files so that it reads from my own system, not through a chat. So Python is a standalone program that is running on my own system. So if I'm worried about security of this data, I can actually use the chat on dummy data or on old data like I did to create this code, which I then customize. Every time I do this, say I now have recent BAS data, and that's of the same, or actually any big data set, I just go and change where it can read that file from. That's a normal path you'll all recognize. This is where it writes the summary table, and that is where it writes my clean data. And I can run this code, and it's quite fast to run it. This will do it on the same data set. And it finished, and I can find it, in those folders I defined. So for a data analyst, this is heaven, because now you needn't come to ChatGPT anymore. You now have a type of an app. You can even customize it to read the data or that input file name from the screen and get it, do it on your own system without involving ChatGPT at all. Okay, I see it's 3 o'clock. I I have more to show, but I think maybe it's also tiring. I don't know if what is the feeling? Must I continue or
Perhaps, Hermi, we can maybe pause and just get
yes,
a sense if there's any questions at this point from the people that
yes.
are attending. And I think what really stood out for me from this webinar is the importance of always remembering that as the person that's prompting ChatGPT, you are the master and you're responsible for the content that you're generating. So I think just we need to keep that in mind, and also that, it's important to also play around and practice, because that's how you'll get better. So today was just a start to show people on what they can do with generative, AI platform. So it's up to us to continue figuring it out and playing around and practicing. But I am also interested in hearing what the thoughts are and some of the questions that people may have at this point, based on what we've seen, all these interesting things you've showed us that is available on ChatGPT. Obviously, what you've shown requires some sort of subscription, but I think even with the general basic ChatGPT, there's quite a bit that people can learn from. So yeah, I want to open it up to maybe see if there's any questions from people with regards to what they've seen. I see in the chats, Patience and Salome saying that they'd appreciate to learn Python. I think it definitely is a useful statistical tool. And Busi is also asking if whether or not we have access to download the software. The software, you mean Python, or what do you mean, Busi?
I meant the thing. Good afternoon. I meant the GPT.
You have to subscribe to it. So the free version does not have the things that I've shown you now. For instance, it has a chat box, and you can't enter your data into that, or big data into that chat box. So I actually personally subscribe because the 400 Rand a month sounded, for the time it saves you, it's worth my while. And I actually thought, let me show it so that people are aware of what is available. And I see Patience is asking, is NT not able to pay for the subscription?
Yeah,
I don't know if you can answer that, Hermi. Maybe Busi's from finance. Maybe you can guide us there.
No, that's why I'm also asking, because it just looked like a very valuable tool, especially for people who are working with numbers and big numbers. It can really grab. I got exposed to it through my studies, but from other people, I'm not sure how they cater for it in their employ. But for Gtac, it's only you, Hermi, that I'm aware that you do have it. Maybe something that we need to explore. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Busi. But yeah, the what I can say is the one that Hermi, as she said, the one that she presented on today that requires subscription. But the lower, I think 3.5, ChatGPT 3.5, that one is free.
Yes.
Although the free version does not allow you to attach any document or attach any files. If you want that version, you'd have to subscribe and pay for it. It's about 400 a month, as Hermi has indicated. So are there any other questions or maybe even thoughts with regards to what we've presented on today? And I think from my side, I see a hand, David.
No, thanks, good afternoon, colleagues. No, it's quite exciting indeed. I'm looking at it from the kind of work we do at both planning as well as the performance monitoring and evaluation processes. It's quite interesting in terms of how it can quickly and the most amazing up-to-date data that you could extract. So indeed, one who's really excited, I'm going to try and explore and learn. I think it's more about learning, and I like the way you can really customize it down to exactly what you need, and you keep on probing it until you are satisfied. I think that's quite interesting indeed. This was a very, very good webinar. When I look at it, I was like, I'm not going to miss this one, whatever how busy I am now. I'm not going to miss this one. Thank you indeed.
Thanks, David. There's also a suggestion here from Matthew in the chat, saying that maybe each business unit can motivate to the ICT committee if they really needed it, especially for the units that do a lot of data analysis work. So perhaps they could consider that avenue if the institution or the organization is not open to pursuing it more openly. And I think for me, another thing, I see Patience hand. Patience, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to check or find out, especially when we upload the documents. I just want to find out the data in terms of security. Are we sure that this data that we are submitting to ChatGPT, there's no one who has an access to it? Looking at the confidentiality of the information that we can be uploading to the platform. Thanks.
Thanks, Patience. So the Hermi, Patience is asking around data security issues. Are there any? So what are your thoughts with regards to that?
Yes, I think that is a good question that we need to be aware of, data security. Obviously, we, the type of data you share, it's uploaded to some site. It doesn't remain active there for long. I suspect it's not, I haven't heard of any data leaks from OpenAI. It would have been in the media. But if data is really sensitive, like people's names, we need to be careful, and we should not upload it on such a platform. Of course, Microsoft uses this as a key selling point. They say that they bring in this large language model into their environment and within your own enterprise, so that it's kind of locked, that your data does not leave your own enterprise. But in my experience, I mean, all of these wonderful things of Microsoft are not available. So I'm not going to be locked in trying, but at the same time, we have to be careful. I think we must be quite careful not to be over careful, like say it's a business meeting. Who cares what Peppa said in their business meeting? To whom will that now be a threat? I mean, let's think of the types of things that are threats, I don't think at our level we necessarily work with that information. So, yeah, it is true. One needs to be, there is a data security policy of OpenAI in which they will say they're not responsible, but they take the utmost care, that type of wording.
Thanks, Hermi. And I think that sort of threats is with anything, really. So really, we need to take the personal care in how we use this data and how we share this data, and not necessarily only with regards to how we prompt platforms such as ChatGPT. I know Jamie's hand, but I also see a question from Matthew in the chat around if this ChatGPT Plus, yes, can be used for transcriptions. I think I saw something, but maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yes, Matthew, it can. Actually, it's much better.
So there you have it. And that's on ChatGPT Plus, right?
Yes, yes. And you attach your transcript and prompt it, and you can even attach your agenda and your transcript and say, please, based on this agenda and this transcript, please make minutes for me for this meeting.
Okay. Jamie?
Yeah, Hermi, thank you very much. just the language you use. How long did it take you to learn how and what questions you can ask, can't ask, etc.? Is there some sort of guideline, or did you just go by feel and touch and say? And how long did it take you?
I read a bit about that. I watched a few YouTube videos. I actually also took a course that was on this platform, Udemy. It costed me 300 Rand, because it was a special. So then and then you start playing. So I think it's experience together with some of witnessing what other people are doing and how they approach it. And yeah, that's just being interested in it generally, I think will improve your own skill. And I think if say it's a field in which you are the expert, like in data analysis, it will help if you talk to it, I think, about the axis or a legend. It's good to because there is, it comes with that context.
I guess these kind of platforms do require an inquisitive mind, and as I said, practice, consistent practice, and just exposure to the different ways to make use of generative AI. I don't see any other hands or comments or questions on the chat. This is the last moment for any other questions or comments to Hermi. Samson?
All right, thank you, Mbali. I just I wanted also to thank you, the panel for also initiative. But my question is with regards to the software required also to support this sort of application. Were you required to download the Python software? And then the other question would be, does this sort of platform also support other script like your JavaScript and whatnot, sort of in a technical note in another aspect? Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Samson. Okay, you don't need Python on your system. All of what I've shown you in the chat, you need not use any of that Python, and it also does not require you to have it installed on your system. I happen to have Python on my system, so I could go to that level to say, okay, what if I want to repeat this function many times and I don't want to do it through ChatGPT? Is this not, this is data analytics. Python has a lot of libraries for that, and it's maybe better to do it in Python. So a long time ago, and Python is free. It's a open source software. So I don't know. And you asked if it can run other code. There's I think that part of GPT or ChatGPT that is for code is Codex, but I'm very sure even in the free versions, you can ask it to write a VBA macro. You can also JavaScript, a range of different codes. We actually, on the free version, we gave it Stata code and asked it to translate it into R, which is also a open source one, and it could do that. So it is very, very, very powerful with code.
Thanks, Hermi. I hope that clarifies the question. I see, Samson, you've unmuted.
I'm saying thank you for that response as well.
Okay. Thanks. I think that brings us to the end of our webinar. I want to thank you, Hermi, for this very insightful webinar. I mean, I realized something so simple that I overlooked, that I can actually customize ChatGPT in line with my area of work and the tone in which I require its responses to my prompts. So this webinar has really lived up to its expectation. You've shown us all how we can really make use of and unlock the potential of generative AI and how it can really transform how we do our data analytics. We've seen the latest developments in AI through this webinar. We've explored the various capabilities and the advantages of a platform such as ChatGPT Plus, and we got to see a hands-on demonstration of data analysis using this advanced platform. And really, again, what I can say about ChatGPT and other generative AI platforms is play around, practice, and you will get better. Today was just the start. Now it's up to all of us to continue figuring things out, playing around and practicing. And on that, I want to wish you all a great afternoon and thank you for attending and staying throughout this weekly webinar series. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.
Thanks, Hermi. Well done.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much. Bye.